Welcome everybody. Shia 932. We're learning today Le'ilei Nishmas Moshe Dov Ben Rabar and Zisa Le'ilei Nishmas Blima Basra Moshe L'Refu Shalema Yisrael Ben Rachalei and L'Refu Shalema Elio Ben Dina Malka. Getting back to our malacha of MAKEH B'PATISH. Okay, so we were basically talking about we're talking about the various different gezeres midrabanan, a reference whereby Chazal were afraid that one might come to be over MAKEH B'PATISH, and thereby there were certain gezeres that were made, and we just finished talking about the sounds and making sounds from instruments and people's hands and feet and so on. So Lamaisa, pretty much we finished that inyan. We summed that up. Now I want to go through some of the various other inyanim, other gezeres actually, not a question of inyanim, other gezeres whereby Chazal made, and go through one by one. Okay, we're going to try not to get into too much detail, but just so people should be aware. First of all, I just want to mention one more quick thing. Reference to blowing a shofar in general, just one more quick thing in reference to what we were talking about, blowing a shofar, which we could understand, one who wants to practice, let's say on Shabbos or whatever, that they should not be blowing a shofar to practice for Rosh Hashanah and so on. One who has properly fulfilled the mitzvah of shofar may not blow a shofar even on Rosh Hashanah. After, unless they have to be to somebody else. But in reference to Shabbos, for sure, one has to be careful not to be blowing shofar and for practice purposes or whatever the case is. It's not a question of achana, but again, it is a instrument that makes noise. Obviously, on Rosh Hashanah itself is what we do, and that. Also, we do not blow shofar on Shabbos. That is on Rosh Hashanah. There's other reasons also, carrying and this and that. We're not going to get into everything right now, but just to keep it in mind. He brings out another interesting thing. Does it say for Lamates Malachas that one shouldn't even practice the first day, let's say for the second day, something like that. I mean, obviously it goes without saying, once somebody was Makayim the mitzvah, let's say somebody blew in shul and they want to blow for other people, obviously that's not the issue when it's on Yom Tov itself. So that's basically just wanted to keep that in mind in reference to Shabbos. Okay, moving along to the next gezerah. So there's a machlokes in the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Shin Chav Gimel, whether one is allowed to tovel kelim on Shabbos. The tovel kelim, as we know, a person has a keli. We're not going to get into different type of materials. There's obviously various different halachas which apply to tfilas kelim, but a kli that has to be toveled, in general, like we said, it's a machlokes. In general, we paskin one is not supposed to be doing that on Shabbos. Now, what's the reason? Plain and simple, brings down the Sefer Salam Tes Malachas on page 1162. In conjunction with the Shulchan Aruch, he says like this: one may not tovel, immerse in a mikvah, obviously dishes, pots, flatware, whatever it is, that has to be toveled when it was not toveled on Shabbos, when it was not toveled before Shabbos, one is not supposed to be doing it on Shabbos, because doing so gives the appearance of a tikkun kli. Again, it's a gezerah looking like tikkun kli, like you're fixing it. In other words, like a repairing of the vessel prior to the tefillah. In other words, before somebody did tefillas kelim, right? The food before they did the tefillah, they're not supposed to be using the kli. Once they did tefillas kelim, so now they could use the kli. So it's mamish. It looks. It's not 100%, real tikkun kli, but it looks like fixing a kli. You're making it from not usable to usable. And just to he brings down the Sefer Lamates Malachas to keep in mind, prior to Tfilas Kelim, a food utensil is forbidden to be used even once. We're not talking about throwaway Kelim, that's a separate machlokes, but a kli, a real kli, that minatayra has to be, or b'chlal, that has to be toveled, even to use it once is not supposed to be used till it's toveled, and therefore effectively it makes it unusable. So it's a type of a tikkun kli. Okay, so the only thing is the Mishnah Berurah does say, the Mishnah Berurah brings down in a totally different Simon Reish Samach Aleph, when he talks about Zman Hadlakas Neiris L'Shabbos, but he does say that in Bein Hashmashis, in Sifka and Hay, he says, Al Dei Tefillah is mutar l'shtamesh ba, right, Ach im hu tzorech l'Shabbos ve'ein lo acher. Let's say somebody has a kli, for example, somebody has a kli that they forgot to tovel from before Shabbos. And now it's Bein Hashmashais. We're not going to get into the exact time. There's various different times of Bein Hashmashais. Basically, it's the time between Shkia and Seisak Chavim, nightfall. sunset and nightfall. But Lamaisa, just to get the halacha straight, he does say ach im hutzarech l'Shabbos ve'en li'achar. If somebody taka needs this kli, and see and they don't have something else to use, yachal litbol ben hashmashis. In this time period of ben hashmashis, one would be allowed to tovel it, the levarach kadin, and even to make a bracha. And so he brings down the Sefer to halachas. Also, Lamaisi, he brings it down. It's also from Mishabura, the Taz, Magen Avram, Shulchan Aruch Rav, others. Mishabura, like we saw, that bebein hashmashis mutar letabel kelim. Bein hashmashis, one will be allowed to tovel kishein loikli acher v'hu tzarech Shabbos. First of all, it has to be I need this utensil for Shabbos, and I don't have another one to use. Those are the conditions. Then in such a case, they would be able to tovel it during Bein Hashmashis. And he brings on the bottom, Mashma B'Prima Godim, Sham D'Yoyse Tovel Tabla B'Bein Hashmashis, V'Lei L'Chapish Acher Eitzes. He says that's the best way to do if the situation arises. Now, just one more quick thing. Then I just want to mention from the Sefer Shabbos Home, the bottom line. He brings on also does the Sefer Yisrael Lachas b'di'evidim over v'tavel kli b'Shabbos. Let's say somebody didn't realize for whatever reason, they did tefillah on a kli, right? Somebody did tefillas kelim. Be'eza inyan shehu mutar l'shtamish by ve'in koin tenoisa. So the kli, the utensil is allowed to be used. The kli is allowed to be used. In other words, right, you're not allowed to tovel kelim on Shabbos. We're not talking about Bein Hashmashis. In general, B'chalal, I can't tovel kelim on Shabbos. Somebody didn't know they did tefillah on a kli on Shabbos. So there was a mistake. So in this case, one would be allowed to use the kli. Because the bottom line is, it's an important thing to keep in mind, the Yesod in general, when we say one is not allowed to have hana from a certain thing on Shabbat, it has to be a machloikis, it has to be straight up halacha. When it's a machloikis, a valid machloikis like this case, the Mechaber brings two shitais, the Shulchan Aruch actually brings two shitais. Some say yes, some say not. We paskin l'maisa, one is not supposed to be toveling kelim on Shabbos, but since somebody did it by mistake, so the kli is allowed to be used. Now, the only thing I just want to end off and say that Lamaisa, one, if need be, we spoke about Bein Hashmashis, whatever, but the bottom line is need be, if somebody gets stuck on Shabbos and that's the only utensil they have that they need, it's on Shabbos and it has to be tovel. There are various different ways to work with it, giving it to a guy, however, this and that, but we're not going to get into all that right now. If one need be, just to read the Lashon from the Shabbos Home. Somebody taka got stuck, and that's the only utensil that they had that they needed on Shabbos, and they have to tovel it, or how to go about working with it till they could tovel it. The bottom line is, he says to Lamaisha, one should ask their Rav, the Paisik, what has to be done. There are various different ways to work with it, but it gets a little bit complicated. He brings down if a person forgot to immerse a new utensil, they forgot to immerse this kli before Shabbos, and then finds that they need the utensil, they haven't guessed or whatever, they push it, they need it, they're stuck, what are they going to do? So then they should consult a halachic authority, they should consult a Rav, the Paisik, whoever it is, and find out how to work it. There are various different ways that it could be worked out, possibly giving it to a guy, it's brought down, and al-tzamatana, but it's complicated, and it's not something that we're going to say in the shir. So these are things that one has to ask if the need arises. Obviously, what should be done, put it on the side, and that's it. And make sure it's on the side, and the person and another utensil should be used. Also, a lot of times you have issues with stickers over there. It's possibly a chatzitza, the glue, this and that, and how to take it off. Shabbos gets very complicated. So bottom line is, if need be, somebody should ask and not to take it upon themselves. Thank you for listening. Hatzlacha and bracha kol tov.